not gonna hide who I am. Emotions are run high in games. I was emotional after the game.
Eagles head coach Dick Sirianni could be seen yelling, cussing, and trolling Chiefs fans after the Eagles won on Monday Night Football, and Chiefs linebacker Willie Gay Jr. was one of many who found this to be extremely corny behavior from the leader of a football team. On top of that, I decided to troll back with a video of my own, and I will show you how easy it really was, as the sheep fell in line just like I thought they would. Then we got to talk about a couple Chiefs players being ruled out for Sunday, Mahomes sharing how the offense can get better in the second half, and then the Raiders will quite possibly be without their star defensive lineman. So let's talk about all of that and more, but first, how about those? Alright, Chiefs Bids is back with another partnered giveaway of this signed HBTC Rasheed Rice helmet. So make sure to stick around to find out how you can have a chance to win this. But first, I want to take a moment to share a milestone with you guys. I don't typically do that, but I got an email today letting me know that the channel officially hit 200 million views, which is insane to even think about, considering I never really thought my videos would get any views at all when I started out. And this really put me in a bit of a self-reflective mood of gratitude that is somehow uniquely timed with the Thanksgiving holiday. So all I really want to say is this: I appreciate you guys more than you know, whether you watch these videos because you love the Chiefs, you hate the Chiefs, or somewhere in between. Just know that I am really freaking grateful. Next up, the Athletic NFL staff recently polled 85 anonymous NFL players from multiple teams, asking them questions about various topics such as what coach they wish they could play for, what the best stadium in the NFL is, who the best player is, and more. Well, when asked who is the best player in the game, the number one answer by far was Patrick Mahomes, who received over 46% of the votes, with some players saying, "Don't you have to say him?" and "There's nobody like him." Surprise, surprise. And then players were asked which coach aside from their own they would want to play for, and the most popular vote was Mike Tomlin, then Mike McDaniel was second, and then Andy Reid was tied for third, getting a little over 10% of the votes. Then they were asked which stadium is the best to play in, and nearly 18% of them said Arrowhead Stadium, with one player saying it's electric and one of the coolest places to play. And I personally found that to be pretty cool. As hostile of an environment Arrowhead Stadium is, a lot of players love playing there, and you love to freaking see it. Then finally, this is a funny one. When asked who the most annoying fan base was, the Eagles and Cowboys won by a landslide, making up 50% of the votes combined, with one player saying the Cowboys usually think they should win the Super Bowl every year, but they never do, and another saying Eagles fans are just loud, rude, and obnoxious. And speaking of the Eagles, linebacker Willie Gay Jr. was not impressed with their head coach's toddler-like antics after the game, and I also decided to troll their entire fan base after this happened, and boy oh boy did the Fly Eagles Fly crowd lap it up like dehydrated dogs at a cool mountain stream. So we definitely got to talk about that, the final injury report for Sunday's game with a key player for the Raiders possibly not playing, and more. But first, Chiefs Bids is back with another sponsored giveaway of this full-size helmet signed by none other than wide receiver 1, Rasheed Rice, who is currently having himself an incredible rookie season. He also put the letters HBTC on there for How About Those Chiefs, which is pretty lit. And before I share on how you can enter for your chance to win this, Chiefs Bids is a place where you can bid on signed Chiefs memorabilia from current players like Nick Bolton and Creed Humphrey, former legends such as Derek Thomas and Lynn Dawson, game-worn items like this Mahomes jersey, fire, Pacheco gloves from the game in Germany, and they even have mystery boxes with the potential to have a golden ticket that can win you even more awesome signed or game-worn items. And all this is accessible through the Chiefs official app in the bids portion, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. And as far as how you can potentially win this signed HBTC Rasheed Rice helmet, you'll need to head over to the Chiefs Bids private Facebook page. Link is in the description. Join the group, wait for approval if you haven't already, then comment HBT Chiefs on their featured giveaway post that you'll find pinned to the top of the group right here in the featured section. I will be announcing the winner this Monday, November 27th, using a random comment picker, so make sure to head on over to Chiefs Bids private Facebook page as soon as you're done watching this video and comment HBT Chiefs on the featured post for your chance to win that full-size signed HBTC Rasheed Rice helmet. Alright, the day after the Chiefs and Eagles faced off on Monday Night Football, I found a clip that showed Eagles head coach Dick Sirianni yelling and cussing at Chiefs fans, and I instantly knew I had to create this video to troll the hell out of all of them. Eagles head coach Dick Sirianni was seen taunting Chiefs fans after the Eagles won on Monday Night Football, and it's far from the first time he's acted like a 14-year-old child. Stuff like this is nothing new for the 42-year-old quote-unquote grown adult / leader head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. From yelling "how about them Eagles" after beating the Cowboys, taunting Colts fans on the sideline because the Colts fired Frank Reich for sucking at his job, screaming and cursing at other head coaches during games, cussing at refs because he knows what the F he's doing, and the list goes on. Even Jalen Hurts had to tell prick Sirianni to quit with the childish antics during Super Bowl 57. I mean, I get it to some extent. He lost to KC in the Super Bowl and really wanted this regular season championship win because he worked for the Chiefs from 2009 to 2012 as their water boy before Andy Reid came into town and told him to please leave so they can actually start winning games. He then went on to coach for the Chargers and had to deal with KC beating them twice almost every single year, then again recently lost to his father in the Super Bowl, so he's still working through the years of trauma. And after that video was dropped, it got hundreds of thousands of views so far on almost every single social media platform. My DMs then got flooded with Eagles fans taunting me, cussing me out, and even one guy randomly accusing me of being racist, which is certainly an interesting take, and I'm not gonna lie, I do feel a small bit of remorse for making this video and would actually like to take this time to apologize to absolutely nobody. Heck freaking no, dude. The only thing I'm sorry about was not trolling even harder in that video, you bunch of sheep. And while I intentionally went over the top in that video to elicit the emotions of the mentally malnourished, I will say that it really is a bit surprising that the head coach of a football team continues to act like this. I mean, could you imagine in your wildest dreams Andy Reid yelling and cussing at Eagles fans after winning Super Bowl 57? How about no? Because he would never, ever stoop down to a level that low. And while some people try to play this behavior off like it's no big deal, saying he's just pumped up over this regular season championship win, fans say and do dumb stuff all the time, and players like Isaiah Pacheco overly celebrate at times too. This comparison falls extremely short of the mark. The standard that a head coach, the leader of an entire organization, is held to compared to their players or fans is so astronomically different that it's almost hilarious to see these comparisons even attempted, but I get it. Much of the world has a rather below average IQ, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised to see the childish antics of a head coach justified from a fan base that likes to set pieces of their own city on fire after their team wins the freaking Super Bowl. Though I will admit, I still was indeed a bit surprised. On top of all of that, Chiefs linebacker Willie Gay Jr. not only liked my video on this situation, but responded to another post simply saying that Sirianni is corny as a MFer, which is pretty funny considering Willie Gay is normally pretty chill about this kind of stuff, but he's speaking absolute facts, that little cornball. But with all that being said, what are your thoughts on prick Sirianni and what he had to say to Chiefs fans after the game? Is it lower than a hobbit with no legs or not really a big deal? Let me know either way in the comments down below. Next up, Andy Reid spoke to the media, and when asked how the offense can improve in the second half of games especially, he said they can do better with penalties, attacking the ball, which I think means catching the ball and not dropping it because they lead the league in drops. And then he said there's no reason why they can't perform in the second half like they do in the first half of most of these games. He then went on to say that a big reason for the underperformance in the second half of games is due to a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and even mentioned that teams aren't really changing things up that much against them in the second half of games compared to the first. They just simply need to fix these little things down the road that's preventing them from showing up, offensively at least, in the second half of these games. And while I agree there should be no major reason why they do not improve from the first to the second half moving forward, the fact that it's been 3 games in a row with 0 points scored makes me need to see what Andy Reid is saying in order to actually believe it. The Chiefs are the second worst half-scoring team in the entire league, averaging around 5.3 points per game in the second half. Meanwhile, they average like 17.3 points per game in the first. So yeah, while I'm hopeful that this will change on Sunday against the Raiders and believe it really can get better, Adam Teicher, the Chiefs beat reporter who has a potato for a cell phone and works for ESPN, thinks otherwise, as he said this in a recent article about the Chiefs and Raiders matchup. Bold prediction: the Chiefs will play a 4th straight second half without scoring a point. Between penalties, dropped passes, and turnovers, they've shown no signs of resolving any of their many issues. Meanwhile, the Raiders have allowed an average of 13 points per game since making their coaching change, so they're capable of giving the struggling Chiefs plenty of problems. Well, what say you all about that? Will the Chiefs go a 4th straight game scoring 0 points in the second half, or nah? Anyway, let's move right along here because Andy shared a couple of updates on the wide receiver room next. He said that there's a chance wide receiver Richie James plays this week since he indeed got activated off of IR last week, albeit was a healthy scratch in the Eagles game, and one reason why he was asked that is because wide receiver Hardman has already been ruled out of the upcoming Raiders game and will not play due to a sprained thumb that he sustained on Monday Night Football. There's even a chance, per Andy Reid, McColl could be out longer than just a week. They were getting McColl's thumb evaluated earlier this week, and just today, Andy said they are getting it double-checked, which to me means that he's possibly getting a second opinion on it. So, I don't know, that may not be good, although time will tell how long he's really going to be out. And with McColl out and Richie's status unknown, many wonder if that could mean Kadarius Toney could see an increase in snaps this weekend. Well, when asked about that very thing, Andy simply said, quote, "We'll see." He's not going to put a number on it, but Toney is indeed involved in the game plan, which is a good thing. Well, I will say this, he was looking absolutely electric on punt returns, and with Hardman ruled out and the team's primary returner, even if that is primarily what Toney is going to be doing, returning punts, I would love to see at least that. Now, another player ruled out of this game for KC is the trusty pass catching and pass protecting veteran, running back Jerick McKinnon, who has been dealing with a groin strain and will officially be sitting this game out. So that means we will most likely see more of CEH, though who actually comes out as the third down back remains to be seen. My gut tells me it might actually be Pacheco out there on third downs, with CEH making up some of the difference on earlier downs, but again, we shall see what the coaching staff decides to do with it. Andy Reid was asked if running back Deneric Prince may get the call up from the practice squad and suit up, and he said, "We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure what we're going to do right there." And I mean, it's either going to be Deneric Prince or LaMichael Pirine suiting up in one way, shape, or form, even if they probably don't see much of the field. Okay, here in a moment, I'm going to look at the Raiders' final injury report because a very key player on the defensive side of the ball may indeed not be playing. But first, Patrick Mahomes also recently spoke to the media this week, and when he was asked what the offense can do to improve their second half performance, here's what he had to say.
All you can do is go back to your fundamentals. Obviously, we had some opportunities in the second half of this last game, but we didn't execute. And so we have to go back to our fundamentals and try to do those. And then hopefully with just steady progress and steady work, we start putting points on the board.
Well, part of the fundamentals is connecting on deep passes, though I know it's not easy. But so far this season, Nate Taylor of The Athletic recently shared that Patrick Mahomes is 0 for 9 and 3 interceptions on passes over 35 air yards from the line of scrimmage. And outside of the drop issues, which is a big one, the other part of that is just being off with his receivers on communication or expectations on those deep balls and their routes ran. It's definitely fixable. In theory, Mahomes seemed confident that they will get it figured out before the postseason run, and hopefully, sooner than later, things will indeed start clicking all the way around, from catching the ball, committing less penalties, and having less mistakes that lead to turnovers. And if KC can't do this week against the Raiders defense, who, as you can see here on the screen, is near the bottom of the league in most defensive categories other than points allowed per game, which is pretty good, and also may not have their starting defensive end Maxx Crosby playing, then I don't know what I'm going to do after this game, because Crosby did not practice at all this week and is listed as doubtful to play on the Raiders' final injury report. And that is potentially a huge loss for the Raiders. Interim head coach Antonio Pierce said that Crosby is getting treatment around the clock and will be there if he can on Sunday. As everybody knows, Crosby's a dog. He's going to play if he can. Well, the loss of Maxx Crosby on the D-line cannot be overstated if that does indeed happen, and the Chiefs will need to ball out against them in Vegas on Sunday. As for the rest of the Raiders' injuries go, there are 4 players listed as questionable, with those being safety Marcus Epps, neck, tackle Colton Miller, shoulder, linebacker Robert Salane, ankle, and safety Roderick Teamer, hamstring. With all that being said, in spite of the Raiders firing McDaniels, their GM, and also benching Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm not sure the Raiders offense is going to be able to get the job done against Kansas City's top 5 defense. I mean, sure, any given Sunday and divisional games can end up very freaking weird, but I'm still rolling with the Chiefs getting it done, winning by a score of something like 24-14, and if Maxx Crosby doesn't end up playing, I'd love to see the Chiefs run up the score even more than that, but again, they simply need to show me, prove it to me, that they can still do this on a regular basis. But what say you guys? What are your score predictions on this game? Make sure to let me know in the comments down below, and then make sure to comment on Chiefs Bids Facebook group for your chance to win that signed Rashee Rice helmet. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those